Sengoku Dynasty is a survival, crafting, and village management game set in medieval Japan where you start off as a peasant crash landing in the Nata Valley with little more than the clothes on your back and the small resources you can find in the area nearby you. After you find your companion Akko, you begin on a quest to find the peasant kingdom in the Nata Valley. This takes you from being nothing more than a peasant starting out with nothing to a daimyo in your own right. In this game, you'll survive against the wilderness, you'll survive feeding yourself and your villagers, gathering resources to build up what started as little more than sticks and stones in an area into a thriving and gorgeous village. This game also offers a really interesting and robust combat system that is fun to play and sets it a little differently than many of the other survival games in its genre. In this game, you have a beautiful setting, as this map with 11 regions is filled with beautiful build locations that you can put in. It acts as a canvas, a tapestry that you can paint your village on to make a gorgeous setting for, and I think you will find that building this game is rather enjoyable. Making those villages really stand out is quite a fun thing to do, and depending upon whether you're here to play this game relaxed or whether you're here to play this game all the way through from start to finish as quick as you can, I think you'll find the beauty of this game really stands out. Let's look into some of those more beautiful locations that I found in this game and that my subscribers have found that stand out and really make us look and say this is a gorgeous place for a village. The game starts off giving you a lot of choice and agency in how you want to play the game through. If you end up playing on creative mode, you can build any number of villages that you want. You're only limited by the fact that more villages is going to have an impact on performance, and you can build anywhere and everywhere you like as long as you set the resource cost to 0 for anything that you place down, because at that point it costs you no bells in order to build a village. If you play in the normal mode, or any mode that is not on creative, then you will be limited to only 4 bells that you will get throughout the game that you unlock and that you get from the abbot through your main quest lines, meaning you get to build 4 total villages in the 11 regions of the Nata Valley. And not all regions are equal in what resources you are allowed to have villagers gather from and that you can use for villager work assignments. This makes a very different contrast between where you would choose to build on creative mode versus where you would choose to build when you're playing the game on its standard difficulty. When we look at these regions, you'll note there are a number of unlocks that you get when you liberate the regions, and those liberation conditions are always on the lower right. You can see that they generally involve at least a construction project, and sometimes they will involve having to defeat enemies. Again, the combat system in this game adds a lot to the game and adds an enjoyable aspect that adds a little more to the game as you go through it. That you have to fight to liberate these regions as you struggle to free this region from oppression and bring it into a free region for the refugees and peasants of the area that you help assist throughout. If you're choosing to play on creative, then I would recommend you skip ahead to the different locations so you can see some of the ideas in here and decide if you like some of those build locations. And please do plan to stick around to the end, as I want to show you some of the kind of small and unique kind of gem areas that didn't quite make the cut for helping out with the survival and main storyline version of the game versus the creative, where they're just kind of fun and they have their own unique little aspect. And there are way more than what I cover in this video, and you may have a perfect location that I didn't showcase. Please feel free to share that location in the comments. Now, looking at these different regions, you'll see that there are different resources that villagers can have. In this, it means that if you choose to build a village in Sosogi, the only resource that your villagers can gain are the basics, which is to say regular coniferous and deciduous logs, not premium, and not paper, and not fruit. Stones are always available, and anything from a forager's hut is always accessible in all regions. You can always gather those resources, unless of course it says you can't because of tin being not easily accessible. Now, when we think about the advancement in this game, it is worth noting that you do need a certain amount of bronze in order to get to iron ore, but the amount of bronze that you need in order to finish this workstation and therefore get iron ore, or the amount of resources you need to finish this project and get straight to iron ore, don't require you to build in this area and don't really require you to have villagers producing tin ore. So I find in my playthroughs that I don't necessarily need to build a village in areas that involve tin and copper. But we'll look into the different build locations here and why they could be fun for you to have. Let's dig in and consider that. It is important to note that you can build a village in any location before you've liberated it and still have a village there and still have people gathering resources. You just will not be able to access the villager resource sources that they're saying on the right until you've finished liberating the area. You still can gather the basic resources. Our first location to showcase is the area of Sosogi. And while Sosogi already has a fast travel location, making it so that you don't really need a village bell to help you get back and forth to do the main quest lines, I find Sosogi to be an exceptionally great place to build a village. Not only does it fit the theme and the storyline of the game rather well, where you're going to help tear down and rebuild this village for the people, not only does it provide a vast and flat expansive area for you to build, but it also allows you to gather a collection of resources right away at the start when you tear down all of these buildings. And tearing down these buildings takes nothing more than a stone axe, and you'll simply swing your axe and tear down each of the parts, gaining vital resources for you to build with as you go. Once you tear down this entire village, I found that I was able to gain 112 planks, standard coniferous planks that is, 248 sticks, 65 charcoal, a collection of bamboo, and when you collect the straw in the far area, you will have over 100 straw, which sets you off very well. Now, benefits of this region are the expansive flat areas that you can build in once you clear it out, and the free resources, of course. It also helps that you have Toshichi nearby where you can do your quest lines with him, and he'll always be there in your village. Not only that, but you do have a local merchant, Chiome, who you can buy and sell with early in the game, getting you access to a little extra money at the start, and as well some farming resources for you to springboard off with at the start of the game. Across the river you'll find extensive amounts of clay deposits that you can mine and gather from in order for you to expand your water fields and other resources and other buildings. And you can also harvest a large collection of stone in the area, which will provide you with extra resources to build with. There are a collection of trees in the area that you can take down, and you'll need to clear out and to have a nice space to build, making it easy to make this village start out fresh and with a little extra effort. There's also a large collection of grasses and bushes to provide with sticks, meaning that you'll never run out of the resources you need to build. Since it's set on the coastline, you can have a number of fishing huts here, which allow you to make a vast fishing village that produces a collection of fish and fish-based meals, as well as oil, which will take care of your heating needs rather well. There are deposits of copper in the region, and beyond that, there are deposits of tin in the easy-to-access mountain regions nearby. So as you build your village, you will be able to walk up this hill to get tin in order to get you the bronze that you may need for later. Once it's cleared out, I think you will find that Sosogi is one of the most beautiful and engaging areas to build in right from the start. Of course, thematic means, and also as a hub of production. Since it can't produce all of its own resources, this can be an exceptional area to make your manufacturing center that all the other villages provide resources for, and they get turned into usable products here. Beyond that, Sosogi also provides 2 special projects not directly involved with the main questline, including a shrine repair project set up across the bridge and over on the edge of a hill outside of the village, located in a beautiful viewing area. Just past this project and close to the village as well, there is another special project that you can build up when you have time and the resources, which is a lighthouse project set on the hill overlooking the coast. Another great option for the area, making it a beautiful build location with a lot of potential to build upon. I also find as an added bonus that Sosogi happens to be situated just right so that it has a beautiful sunrise over the far mountain with the shrine, and a beautiful sunset over the mountain that you will eventually build a lighthouse upon, making it a very unique location in its morning and evening views. Our next location that we're going to look into is in the mountains region. Now this area has a great area to build, which is this flat expanse here in the roadways, not far away from our local warrior friend, independent warrior friend, and in an area where there are a number of rabbits you can hunt, and some nice flat space that you can take advantage of building in. Also, our young hunter, who you can make choices on whether he stays being a hunter or tries to think of a new way. I love this area because there's a nice gradual hill here which allows you to build a village that kind of grows up and along the hill. I love the fact that you can put rice terraces in here, which looks gorgeous, I think. And there's a lot of space. You also can make a very entertaining connection with your person nearby here if you chose to build your village and led to his camp, so he could be a part of your village as just an extension of it. It is also nice to note that there is a shrine on the top of this mountain here, and as we go back this way, you have a walkway towards the Inari Shrine from the start of the game on this pathway. As well, going down the road, if you continued your roadway this way, you would be going to Onsen next, and there are some very nice views that go into this area. So, with this area, there are no major risks. There is one downside, which is obviously the fact that you have no water near you, so fishing is not going to be a simple thing unless you can manage to build close enough to the river on that side, but I don't think the rivers allow you to really build. So from here, the one limitation is fishing, not so great. Trees, you have good access to trees early on for your character to cut down for building, but it will be somewhat limited, and you do have to clear a bit to get some of this area buildable. There are lots of rocks nearby though, and that is rather handy. Iwasaki is my #1 place that I like to build in. I find myself here near our riverway that expands into a large limited lake, and we are going to build in a nice wide open space. There is some room for terracing fields if you so chose. There's also ample room for a village here and some convenient locations for some different heights of things. I happen to love this little indentation here that happens. This could turn into a recessed area for rice paddies if you wanted to envision it like that. I also envisioned it as kind of like a quarrying area that we imagine digging down and into the ground. And you are also having access to the waterway, which is a huge deal. So then now we have access to fishing and therefore access to an easy source of oil for heating needs. It is also a very pretty side to the river. You are overlooking some destroyed villages, which you could easily tear down with your axe in time, and you will be able to see the thug camp from here. The mountains in the background are a nice touch and make this a wonderful area to build in. And some of these birch trees I find very nice. I love these sets of 3, and I have a plan to incorporate those into a village, and I think that'll be a lot of fun to do. You will find iron ore distributed throughout that you can harvest, and plenty of clay throughout, as well as hemp sitting around the area, and deer not too far away in this direction. The one hazard you will have to make note of is that there are wolves in the southern part of this area, so do be mindful, and every once in a while they do wander into your village, so don't be surprised if every once in a while a wolf kind of meanders into your territory. In the Enjio Rebels region, I found a little bit of a entertaining time choosing between places. There's a lot of hills, and there are some spaces near the Ryujin Shrine area that you could build, and there are some nice flat expanses in here that can work. I happen to like this location on the hill as it allows you, and this is the area by the Watchtower project. This is an area where you end up with some nice views. You could incorporate some really nice building into this area that allows you to overlook some very pretty scenery. Mountains in the background, of course, always nice. It has a good deal of expanse that you can grow into and more or less flat land here, and you can work with this land as well and easily kind of work with the contours of it, because there are complex parts to it which could be really nice for some creative use of space. There are some naturally occurring flowers here looking like daffodils, and there is conveniently a cave nearby which could be a lot of fun to incorporate into your village. This cave does extend all the way down and has an exit further in and down the hill. There are stone deposits in this area and also iron, which can be a nice resource to have early in the game if you so chose to build in this area, since you would be able to have access to copper for your villagers and tin, and then you could harvest some of the iron from that village and have access to iron. This can be a nice area. It is pretty, it is kind of on its own, and there are some limitations to how far you can build, but there's also the limitation of, well, there's bears here. So do be mindful of bears. After you build your village, I have not seen bears pop up here. However, when you initially come here, you may have a little bit of a challenge. I do find that you can easily run from the bears, so if it's early game, don't feel bad if you're running away from the bears. They are quite a challenge to take down. Bows and arrows do a decent job, though. The Central Plains was the hardest area for me to make choices in. Honestly, there are way too many great locations here to simply put one down and say this is it. I'm saying that this is a great build location. Do be mindful of the wolves nearby, of course. There's a cave nearby. There's a decent amount of flat expanses here, a little bit of contour with the hills that you can easily work with. There is a cave nearby, which is always nice, kind of for that aspect of having a mining community and it making sense that there would be resources here. The watchtower up here on the hill is already constructed and is a great thing to have in your view space. I found that some of these little nooks here are really fun to build a specific home in, and you can, if you choose and if you put your bell in a good position, you can easily have a village expanding out into this expansive flat area here. You also have a bamboo thicket not very far away, which could be great for decoration and also great just for visuals. There are a few interesting trees in this area that add some natural beauty to it. I do find that these large beech trees do look pretty, the huge ones. And there are a lot of flowers that just occur in the area. As you can see, I left this area wild. You can see a large collection of flowers. But wait, there's still so much more. All of these flowers extend over this huge area here. When you look down this way, there's a gorgeous pathway that leads into a bamboo thicket that's divided by a river, or that's separated by a river. And then over this way, there's a river that leads into the lake. This has a lot of hills in it, but we do have some fruit trees that are just here, naturally occurring, we can say. And building near the lake is a rather nice thing, since there will be ice to harvest for your character during the wintertime. This could be a beautiful view looking out as well. This is a really difficult area for me to pinpoint, here's the best location. And in full honesty, I chose that location near the cave because when I first started playing this game, when it was early release and it was, you know, everything was getting tested and seeing how things could go, even before we had access to farming and the water fields, this area by the cave that I showed you was my original village, and it holds a special place in my heart. This area has a lot of beauty. It is hard to choose in the Central Plains. There's just so many options. One of the added benefits of settling in this area as well is that there is ice, premium deciduous trees, and paper trees as things you can access. It's also worth looking and seeing that the liberation conditions, much like in Enjio, only require you to build, and that is a really handy thing, making it a really easy early village. You could build your first village in this area and then expand outwards from there easily. It is worth noting that that project does take a few villagers though, so maybe a bit of a delay on that, but it's still quite doable. Do watch out for wolves in this region here. The Eastern Swamps has a number of regions to choose from as well, and I definitely found myself having difficulty making choices here as well. There's a lot of really great options. Here is the area that we're looking at now, and you'll note that liberating this area, and on the lower right you won't see the fact that you have to take down the bandit camp, or the outlaw camp, sorry, and the outlaw leader. That will take a little bit of time. This one is a bit more challenging. Looking here, I chose this region. You'll have to clear out some of this clay, and you'll notice I left this here to show how much you'll have to clear, just in case that is a barrier for you, the thing that you don't want to deal with. But there is such extensive area here that you can clear out and make use of these trees and the naturally occurring grasses. This is a great area to build, nice and flat in most places, but still having room for you to put some rice terracing up. You could also find a way to take advantage of this little bog and perhaps even surround this and make it a bog farm, or have some ideas with that one. There do tend to be refugees that show up over in this area, so that's rather convenient as well. It is also worth noting that as far as natural beauty is concerned, there is a naturally occurring passageway here with two rocky sides to it. It is quite beautiful, and you could definitely do something very fun with this. Do make note, there are bear in this area, so be mindful of that. But I think that this region is one of the top in this area, just because of its natural beauty, access to some wild plants that can be fun to incorporate, and a good deal of flat space. And you can expand either way that you want here. You could go into the swampier lands over here, or you can go more into the forests if you go this way, and take advantage of that beautiful pathway. Threats here, of course, bears. You won't see them on here, but this is the bear region, and there are wolves nearby too. We've kind of been going on a pattern of going from left to right and then down. Here we are now at Segi. Segi has a lot of very interesting places to build in. I chose to build on the coastline and showcase the coastline, as there's so much space to build here. I have built villages here, and I've very much enjoyed what you can do with the hillside. I love having a watchtower on the hill to overlook the area. Obviously this needs to be fleshed out more, but it's just a demonstration. There is plenty of room for your fishing village. It is also neat to have a view of this island across the way. You can also have a clear view of the pirate village over there. That is never mind that, that's just a village I'm setting up over there for here. And then there's a lot of room to go back towards the swampland here. There is a lot you can incorporate in this region. And if you wanted to stay true to, I should have access to very wet land if I'm going to have rice, well, here you have it. If you want to have an RP aspect to it where you say I can only build rice paddies where there's actually naturally occurring high water tables, the swampland would definitely do it for you. You could also build further towards the river to take advantage of the natural beauty of being built right across, or right on the coastline, and right on the river, and right across from the other side, which can be a very pretty village as well. So this area has a lot of potential. The expansive beach leaves a lot of room for you to make some creative choices there, and the ample flat space here can help quite a bit. As far as threats are concerned, honestly, there's basically nothing. There are boars in the swampland. That's it. You're a distance away from Segi, so unfortunately it's a bit of a walk to get to Segi, but honestly, not too bad since you'll have your fast travel bell here. As far as liberating this area is concerned, yeah, this one does take a bit of work. You have 2 projects you have to construct, and you also have to take down the deserters' camp, a number of deserters and their leader, that is. The riverbank area is another one that has a lot of options for where you can build, and all of your choices are essentially good. This region here I happen to love, as it is right near our lake, which is awesome. That is a problem though. Of course you see that there are wolves very nearby you. There is ample collections of sticks and grasses here that you can harvest to make your village early on. There is a lot of space here, and these naturally occurring fruit trees are gorgeous. You can also take advantage of this boggy area, and later in the video I'll show you an idea of making a partner village between these two, which I find to be really nice. As you just see, I walked into the Central Plains right in that step. The true beauty in this area and the true advantage in this area is not only the fact that there's lots of space to build, but also the fact that in the summertime there are lotus plants, and in the wintertime you can harvest ice. So it's probably important for me to showcase to you that, and we'll see that shortly. It is also worth noting that there's a lot of naturally occurring fibers in this area that are quite helpful for you. Now, there are a lot of areas to choose from, and as you can see, when I go into this region here, you're starting to see some of those naturally occurring flowers here, which is beautiful to build into. There is a cave not too far away from this region, and there's a lot of good potential for building in other areas here. So this is another area that unfortunately it's very hard to choose from. In the summertime, this location absolutely pops and is amazing, as here we have lotus plants floating in the water, which you can harvest obviously for lotus root and lotus seeds, but also it adds a nice layer of natural beauty to this region, as well as the purple flowers, which are quite gorgeous. Look to be irises. Building in the coastal swamps area, I find, is going to be best in this early region here, since there's a huge amount of space here. and a lot you can do. Obviously, since it's by the coast, you have access to fishing villages, fishing huts, and that's quite a nice thing. There is a large amount of space to build in here. I mean, it just keeps going, and a lot of things you can do to take advantage of these lowland areas with water. You could have rice bogs, etc. here. And obviously the amount of flat space you get makes it really easy to build a rather large and expansive village here. And you can choose to build along the river or along the coast. There are so many possibilities. You do get excellent sunsets here as well. One thing of note though, and a major concern, there are no wild animals to be concerned about. You do have to worry about the pirates, yar. Although they're quite a ways away, honestly, and there's not much you really need to deal with unless you go towards them. There is the lighthouse, which you can see finished in the distance, which can be nice during certain times of the day and evening. But one of the things you will find is a concern here is that you don't have a lot of access to rock. When you're building early on, your villagers will need to supply that for you, or you need to show up here with it, or already have some villagers making them. And the amount of trees that you can harvest if you so chose to build here on your own is not much. You have not as many resources to work with here. This one needs help from you supplying it with resources to build. Both Aratani and the temple have amazing unlocks that you can get. Obviously, when we unlock the Aratani area, we get some very important recipe unlocks, as you can see. We get the healing balm, and we get samurai armor, which is a lot of fun, and also the malaria medicine is a really powerful medicine that takes care of a lot of needs of your villagers. The big difference between these two is the fact that one offers you iron ore as a village resource, and the other one offers you clay. Now, Aratani can be good in the sense that if you don't have any other place where your villagers can harvest clay, well, this takes care of that. So for me, that kind of made the balance tip in favor of Aratani for me in one of my playthroughs. I wanted a source for my villagers to gather clay, although I did quickly discover they don't harvest a lot of clay in their jobs, unfortunately. It does take eliminating the Ashigaru camp and the Ashigaru leader, and also building a small bridge project, but the small bridge project is very easy. The Ashigaru aren't too bad. The boss area is a little tricky in that you have to navigate in. Now this area I find gorgeous. These two fruit trees, by the way, please don't expect to see them when you get there. I planted those just to test it out and just to see what it would look like, and I love it. So when you come here, I find this area, and by the way, we are here. I find this area to be absolutely beautiful. It's got this waterfall and the small waterway, the river coming through from it. I find this to be a beautiful place to build. Now you will notice that as far as flat space is concerned, you're going to work at that a little bit. And there is definitely a little more down here by the waterway that you can take advantage of, but it is not purely flat space. There is a good deal of flat space across from the river, but do make note that as you get too close, it's now eastern or coastal swamps region. So your village is kind of tight up to the boundary here, and there's a lot of very, very fun things to do in this area, but you are close to the edge. And because I was curious, I did test out whether I could build something in the eastern or the coastal swamps area and take advantage of the fact that I had a building that was technically in that region and would give me the resource while also still being located in Aratani. As you can see here, this is clearly in, well, so it claims it's in that area. And just to double check, I moved it into this area clearly in the green. And when I go in and I try to tell my villager to change to in this regional resource, it does not allow me to do so. So clearly it is where the bell is placed that determines the village. So as you can see, I have my bell, I've picked it up, it says Aratani Region, and then it says Coastal Swamp. So what things you can harvest are based on the bell's location, not on the building's location, as you may have already known, but I wanted to double check it. Now, looking back at this village, if you ever need to move your bell to see where you can build and the extent of where you can build, you simply move your bell, and you can see that entire circle for where you have space to go and design. For me, this extends out a little far in the back end where I don't need to build, so I would probably move my bell further up this way, as I would love to make a pathway up to a shrine in the mountain area. And that's another reason why I love this region, is that it has a nice pathway up to something that you could turn incredibly beautiful here. Concerns in this area are, well, there are boars and wolves, which boars aren't that bad, but the wolves can be a problem. Although at this point in the game, honestly, you are probably doing very well, and you may not necessarily need to worry about bears. Let's get a view of this one from the morning time. Here we are. You could really take advantage of this pathway that goes as it rises towards the sun. A pathway into the rising sun in the morning could make for a great temple or shrine. Finally, for the temple region, which, as we saw before, includes our iron ore, paper trees, premium deciduous, and fruit trees, there are a lot of amazing areas to choose from here. Now, this obviously comes from a different playthrough. As you can recognize, there's great bamboo thickets through here and great pathways. I've added stone walkways through all of these areas. It makes for a wonderful area to have a mansion with walls built into a cliffside, mountainside area. And as you build your village in this area, there's plenty of flat space available, gorgeous areas to build into with that thicket in the background. I just think that adds such a great amount. And trees, abundant amounts of trees, lots of natural beauty to behold. And in the springtime, you see all these flowers and these bushes I planted, a little bit of room for raised terracing for fun, but in the summertime, you get an added benefit. This lake, just like the one in the riverbank area, has a natural deposit of lotus, so that you, during the summertime, can harvest lotus plants as you see fit, and also it's just a very beautiful thing to see sitting in this area, an area that already has a lot of great natural beauty, but this just adds just that little bit more that makes this my absolute favorite build location. And this one comes to me from a subscriber, and I am so grateful they shared it with me because I have loved making this village. I hope this has helped you to make some decisions about some areas that you would like to build, and also to know some more about just how the basics work in the regions and how you can plan ahead for your villages if you're playing the standard game when you only have 4 bells to choose from, or if you're choosing to build on creative and this is your canvas and you are going to paint a beautiful scene of villages on it. Do know that as you build more and more villages, obviously there will be some performance issues because you're putting a lot more items out there, and that's a lot for it to load. You can also plant your own items. Keep in mind that the way that you plant your own trees and bushes and things like that is with a wooden hoe. The shovel removes things permanently. In case, for example, you didn't like some of the bushes and their placements, you can take the shovel to permanently remove them. You can also accomplish a similar goal by just simply building a road into an area, which also happens to eliminate some of those items as well. So as I build this road here, we'll see that these bushes vanish. Oh, there we go. Now I have a pathway and I've eliminated some items that I would otherwise have had to take care of with the shovel. Alright, the next places that I'm going to show you didn't make the main list, either because it just wasn't a convenient location to build in, or there was something better about another region, or these are just simply locations that I found a rather unique and fun build location to do, and it's not really functionally great, or it has limited space, or it's just not as good, right, as some of the other ones. And in all honesty, these are all subjective. You might find some of these other areas better than the ones I showed before. It's totally up to you which ones work best for you, but thanks for sticking around to the end of this. Let's look at some really unique areas and some fun little extra areas. The first I want to show you is this one, onsen. So here we are in the mountain region, although I believe, yes, it does count as the mountain region, same as our farm village from before. You have these naturally occurring fruit trees here. You will find that there is a lot of limitations to the space that you can have. You'll have to do a little bit of work to clear out some of the bamboo thicket, or you may have to decide to build up on a hill. But what I found is it could be a lot of fun for you to have a village that happens to feature a natural hot spring and an inn, and that now becomes a part of your village, in quote marks. It's not a thing that you can command and change, but you can build items around it, as I've built things here going on a pathway, and I have upgraded their pathway to look a little more enjoyable here. It is a little redundant in the sense that you already have a fast travel location, but honestly, having the idea that your village as a hot spring has the onsen hot spring, I don't know, I think that's pretty neat. In the Enjio Rebels region, I happen to love this little hillside area here. It overlooks the village here. Well, it's actually overlooking Kangoro and his little area. So I love this area because when you look out over this, this is a gorgeous view. This is really fun to have. I can actually see my village from here. How about that? And we can see the far watchtower from here as well. It is beautiful for its views. There is a good amount of flat space here. A lot of boars, so be ready for taking the boars out early in this area, and some black bears not far away. But I found that I love building in this area, and there is a pathway to the temple on the top of the hill over not far away from our region. And I do love the fact that you can build a different leveling with this one, where now here we are heading down. We have a different level to our village, 2 different heights, which is a lot of fun to work with. And of course there's Kangoro's building and our other village. Before the game was released officially in the Daimyo edition, the 1.0, I built a village here and I loved it, since you can take advantage of a lot of very neat natural beauty in this area. You have a walkway that goes over a bridge, and this is, by the way, located in the Central Plains area, which is challenging because there are so many other very good regions to build in here. So I still love this particular location, as you have a good amount of space up here, which I made my manufactory, my crafting quarter, and in this thicket you can build a really neat and unique village within this space. You also have the beautiful lily grass just sitting on the hill here, which makes for a neat way to see the landscape and something interesting to build into and change as you see fit. Now, do keep in mind, though, of course, harvesting all those grasses and taking them down will take a long time if you want to take the shovel out and permanently remove them. Threats in this area are, of course, wolves. Not too far away here, there are plenty of wolves. I made a nice low land farming region here for rice, which I thought was wonderful, and a walkway that crossed into a shrine here, and I thought that was just quite a nice thing, and it really did make the landscape stand out. And with the lamplight in the night, it was gorgeous. And just because it's the Central Plains, here's another one in the Central Plains area. The reasoning for this one, of course, is not because it's the best build location here, and obviously it didn't make the cut. This is just one of the many good build locations. I happen to love the idea of putting a bell somewhere on this side, which happens to connect to the village on this area over here. So what I consider this is a partner village, where when I place a bell close enough on here, I get it so that it just extends to here, and that this bell just extends to here, so that you are walking down a pathway, and this pathway turns into just this gorgeous fruit tree walkway that you can make into connecting point between 2 partner villages that are combined in similar areas but turn into a giant thriving village. In the Segi area, it is nice to build on the coast because of all the extra flat space, but I happen to think that these cedar trees could be taken advantage of to make a beautiful village. One of the reasons why this did not make the cut is, well, number one, there are quite a lot of wolves in the area, and it does make it an initial challenge. It's not a huge deal, you can probably deal with it quite effectively by the time you're building here. It is also challenging because these trees require higher technology in order to cut down. You need bronze or better in order to do this, which means this is not a starting village. This one has to be taken care of after some time has passed. It can still be a wonderful area since these cedar trees look great all times of the year. There's a good amount of expansive space here, a little bit of a hill going down, and of course there's a shrine just up this way, and also a memorial location over here with small stones. It is a very pretty area, and I do think that this one kind of stands out to me as a very unique build and a nice little area that you can have hidden gems that you walk to within. And again, just the fact that the cedar trees look so nice here, I think it really adds a lot. Now in the river region, I did not initially plan to put this into here, but I do think you can do something with this area. The problem, of course, and the reason why I didn't initially think to put this in the area is that this old ruined field area, you can't actually build here. You'll be told that you can't actually build in this location. You see, building is prohibited. You can build on the edges of this, and there is plenty of space to expand outwards on, and there's a lot of room for you to do different height levels within your village, and there is a decent hillside, and of course that bridge is gorgeous over here that leads to Aratani. But I do find this rather limited in the sense that you can't do anything with the things here as of yet. This may change over time, and it may turn this location into something spectacular, For now, I at least wanted to include it. There are other areas here that are better. It's just something worth noting. And for reference, there we are. Another unique area here in the village is this space that kind of has a interesting history. There's a number of things you can work around. There's a lot of flat space here with the birch trees and some ruined villages that you could do something interesting with, as well as a bit of a rockway path here, which could be definitely built into, although be ready for bear fights. And then this comes out into the swamp shrine walkway area, which you can build in this area. This could also be fairly unique for the river region as well. Fancy yourself doing a roleplay where you are a bandit leader? Well, what about having a giant training center or mansion built into the largest cliffside in the area that overlooks your bandit camp in the swamp, in the Eastern Swamps location? This could be a unique area to build if you decide to have it. It's not going to have a lot of space, and you will be building up and around and curving into that area or into this area over here, and you'll be clearing a lot of trees out. But I thought this could be a lot of fun, imagining that you are the bandit leader and that this is your camp. Now, of course, if you do clear out the bandits in the bandit camp, there won't be anybody over here, but you could always leave some behind just as something to see from a distance. The temple area has too many places to keep track of, just way too many places that are worth thinking about. I found that this giant rock sitting here happened to make a great, interesting, I wonder what I can do with this type of location. We are located here in the temple region, not far away from the samurai camp, but definitely a distance away from the other. Now, there is limited space, and you are going to have to get creative with how you utilize this, but it's not bad. There's a lot of natural beauty in this. You could definitely take advantage of some of the thicket, and also just what do you want to do with this rock? That could be a lot of fun to consider how that plays into your landscape and your village. And because temple is just too good, I also happen to love this area, which is at the bridge crossing between the riverbank region and the temple region. I find that this is a nice area to build, as you have a great lookout here that you can build, and this can see for a great distance and overlook the bridge crossing into the temple area. You can choose to landscape this how you see fit, and when you build here, you have a decent amount of space up here to expand into for whatever it is that you wish to have, and you also have a nice pathway that you could make into a village at the lower region here, and there is plenty of space down here. Of course, the disadvantages, as you saw with many of the other ones, are a lack of water sources that you could build on, although you could try building a fishing village on that river, although it might look a little odd. Lastly, what if you decided to build your village in the samurai camp? I took the time to clear all the enemies out of here, so every single one of the enemies that was here has been defeated, and now this is an empty camp with no one occupying it and nothing but my ability to build here. Now, of course, you cannot take down the structures, which makes this kind of limited in its own sense. But could you turn this into something interesting? Perhaps you could make it so that there's a village outside of the camp, and that village is then attached to this camp, and then you can use the already placed items here, the already placed buildings here, as an interesting kind of we took over the samurai camp, and now this is mine. I am the one who's in charge of this region. And from what I've seen, enemies have not respawned here for me, so it has become just a passive area that I can build in. There is a limited amount of space depending upon where you want to build into. You'll notice I put my bell there, which marks us here. The reason for it is I wanted to see if I could build up on the hill where that final fight with the samurai leader happens to be. That allowed me some room to build into this area, and it's decently flat, and there are definitely interesting features to have here in this little thicket, but it is not as expansive as the area you could see out here, which has a lot more empty space. The problem being, of course, that if I only have 4 bells, this is a lot better region for building, but it does not allow me to have any fun decorating the inside of the samurai camp. And obviously building inside this area is going to be challenging. You'll probably be putting more decorations in here than anything, just because of the fact that there's such limited space, but you can definitely add your own features here as you see fit. So it is still a fun thing to do, and it can be a lot of fun for you to build in this area, just because it is so absolutely unique. I could get my own light sources in here, on top of the light sources already present. Alrighty, I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and I hope that you have found some locations that you're excited to build into, or that maybe you're just going to try out, or maybe it's helped you make decisions on where exactly you want to place things. And I am thankful for you being here. Take care, and leave a comment below what your favorite region is to build in this game. Just curious what people think. What's your go-to favorite, most beautiful build area? Take care, and enjoy running and expanding your dynasty in Sengoku Dynasty. And I know that you would be concerned if I didn't include this area as well, and I would have been as well. There is a natural walkway here that you can get to. This is in the Enjio Rebel region, and this island is very interesting. It is fairly not simple to build on. It is not flat, so you will work at this one. There will be a little bit of challenge in finding ways to make sure that you can actually get decent land space for houses if you so choose, and obviously it is in the Enjio Rebels region, which means resource-wise it's fairly limited. But the things that you can do here, well, there is a lighthouse, which is really fun to build up here. It has a great overview. There's our sunset, which is also quite gorgeous to see. There are some exceptional views looking back at the island, or as I should say, back at the mainland from our island out here. And with the trees up here, you could clear this out and make your own little refuge. And as you do so, know that you have some of the absolute best lookout areas in all of the Nata Valley. Take care.